is from Delta, BC, Canada. Wilfred Wilson, 48 years in commercial fisheries and 47 years a boat owner. And this is Wilfred's 5th year here at Astoria. So let's give it up for Wilfred Wilson. Welcome, man.
It's 58 years this year is going to be my 58th year commercial fishing. And, my dad pulled me out of school in grade 2 a month early to start my career. Anyway, I'm going to start out with we are the ones who have started our work day at every moment of the clock. Every day of the year, half past dark 30 or quarter to somewhere in between. Trade with no one, land be for rest and relaxation, and yes, to party. Once a waterman, always a mariner we be. Thrill of the chase to catch, pull, build is entrenched in your soul. For many, it's not to be removed. Aches, pains from the years take their toll. A fee only too glad do we pay, and pay we do. To miss a child's first breath, tooth, step, first day of school, and even graduation are only some of our biggest payments. When the wind gusts so strong as to get your attention, think of the mariner whose world can be up on an elevator and straight down in the time you take a long sip of your tea, with a landing harder than anything you will ever feel. Trade not will we, for that elevator takes me to places you'll never see. My daughter still never forgiven me for missing her birth. But I did make it home for 2. I would have been about 15 or something when this transpired in my life, and I call this one waves. I've been on top of 50-footers that gives one something to fear, better than any roller coaster ride. Been on top of 10-footers that give the best thrill of a lifetime. Surfing along in an open 12-foot double-ender duck punt, no bailing bucket, no life jacket, no one knows I'm there. No excuse to not stop. For once, common sense prevails. To this day, I regret not to have gone a couple more miles to the next harbor. The feeling of total elation had to be cut short. Floating along, surfing, more steering than paddling, one's butt sealing out the last of the breaking foam. Looking back, seeing energy bursting, coming at you ready or not. Mariners say they've seen the biggest of them all, that give the biggest chill to one and all of their mates. I compare those 10-footers to any and all. For what one rides within determines what and who can say they've seen most, but certainly I'd say not all. I grew up near a boatyard, and I got to watch some master carpenters, building of boats, and it's when it's a part of your life, you just think that's just normal. But these men were really masters. I fished 15 years on a wooden seine boat with an uncle, and I touch upon it in this poem. But I did indeed go through a rather big blow. It was steady 87 knots, and it peaked at 115 knots. That's the only time in my life I didn't think I was going to make it through, but we did anyway. So anyway, I call this wood. Gone are the days of wooden boats, trees long ago chopped to the ground. Edge grain, stood on edge, aged to maximum strength. comes back to life in another form in skilled hands of master carpenters. The feeling one has under you as she gives and takes, laying in the forecastle bunk, listening to the murmur of the oakum corking as you plow through curlers. Hearing the reassuring creaks and groans helps ease into sleep. When those sounds are no longer easily heard, you know it's a really tough bow building. Going are the few men who face the wrath of 100 knot plus of men sheltered within. Those that stood on a wooden deck toiling away, feeling, sensing, grasping, willing to absorb that all is not right. When the very deck under you is transferring an energy that is dying yet again, be it from rot, misjudgment by some, or a sea so very mean in the moment. Going are we. Last October, I was able to go out on a test run for some gear on the Fraser River, which is where I live near. And this is called six and counting. There were 6 of us sailed that day. To go on a short test run to set gear with 6 has to fall in one of those extra special times that occur oh so rarely. From so many places from throughout the world for them to originate. He, from in his mid-80s, fished in both hemispheres, still capable to work gear. Him, from 7 decades, a friend I grew up with on the water and had rescued his dad. Me, from 6 decades, all upon the water. 4th and 5th, 4 and 5, also known from a lifetime standing on the boats. She, from her 30s, can work beside most any man and in front of some. Turning corner, outbound from the harbor, stated, "What is it that makes us feel whole when we are back in our element?" When I had thought it was only me relishing in the moment. I met this woman but once, and she was the daughter of this man that this poem comprises mostly of, and it was anyway. I'll jump into it. I call it heart. The heart can open at the strangest of times, at the oddest of moments, recognized in some very special ways. Cultural differences placed aside sometimes. An old mariner with advanced dementia brought down to the water to say goodbye for one final time to his boat. When she truly does become much more than wood put together, both worked so hard for decades. Wheeled down in a wheelchair by a daughter and a son, gazing from the float, dreaming of all special times with her, going through storms that would scare the vast majority. Along come 4 fellow Musqueam natives, realizing that this really is one of those special times. Picked them up and put them on deck, wheeled into the wheelhouse to leave them together for his final time, where he stood up and had help to put her in gear, turning the wheel and barking orders, for he really was fishing again. If and when that time arrives for me, pick me up, put me on deck, pull me into the wheelhouse, for I'll surely do the rest. I'm going to close with two poems here that acknowledge mariners' women. Um, it can be a hard life on a woman, I was in the midst of my career, and I was contemplating of expanding and buying another license. We just started our family, and my wife says to me, are you doing it for the money or because you want to? And I said, well, both. She says, well, if you're doing it for the money, you can forget it. She says, 'cause you were gone almost 6 months a day last year fishing. If you're going to be gone 10, she goes, I'll be gone, and so will your son. And at that time, we only had the one. So I thought about it. I said, well, how about this? You know, if I'm in port, I'll hire people to do the maintenance, and you know, I'll be around more. She said, let me repeat myself. If you're going to be gone 10 months, bye-bye. So needless to say, I didn't acquire another license. So anyway, I call this one Mariner's Woman. Here's to the Mariner's Woman. They're the ones who stay on land through all the centuries past, putting on the pants, faced with all the uncertainty as each season gales come and go. Sinking of mariners' ships, taking the very heart out of some on those on land. Going yet again through turmoil as each tough season comes and goes. Putting on the brave face for the little ones. And yes, putting on the pants yet again as we sail. Knowing nothing said or done will stop her man from going to sea. Builds a strength most women neither want or need. Gladly willing to shed some of that strength when her man steps back on land. The feeling is hard to explain when we reconnect. Those on land will never know or understand. No, woman, are you willing to give back one leg of those pants? I would think the divorce rate amongst the fishing fleet is higher than average. You know, there's separation, and I married my childhood sweetheart. And so she was, you know, well versed in a fisherman's life and the amount of time we're gone. And so I'm closing with my final poem here, and it's called Checking In. Soon to be sailing yet again. Once again, my dear, I will hand over the biggest part of my heart. As always in the past, care for it as you always have. For you hold the balance and the key to hold it together. Separated for months yet again, trust is complete. For so many fishers, when stepped back upon land, to realize only then their heart's been crushed and tossed aside. Not even a tiny piece is spared. After all these decades, I know you'll hand over mine complete and intact to be stronger as we strive to complete our lives together. I just want to say thank you, and indeed, this is my 5th year here, and you know, it's a rather nice and new addition to my life, and the people in Astoria, you know, you're an incredible bunch, and this is a really good gig. Thank you.
Okay, so hi. What's your name?
My name's Don Pugh. This is Kim Sayers.
Kim Sayers.
Okay, and where are you from, Don?
Snohomish, Washington.
Is this, and we're not going to ask you any questions unless if you want. Okay, so what brings you here?
I'm a fisher poet who came down here to perform, tell lies.
Oh, so you're a performer?
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you do?
Well, I'm a storyteller, although John Broderick, who's the granddaddy of this whole thing, always encourages us to try poetry. So last night I tried one. You want to hear it?
Yes, absolutely.
Granted, I'm not a poet, so this is like new ground for me. Roses are red, sockeyes are red, poetry's hard. Oh, hell with it. Let's just go fish.
Great.
And then, of course, I bow. And then I go on to telling stories because that's what I do.
Well, how does it feel to be with a poet?
Oh, it's entertaining, yes, to say the least.
Have you any highlights for you? I mean, aside from obviously seeing his performance.
Oh, today, just seeing the sights of Astoria, really love the waterfront. Went down and had some razor clams, and yes, we love it here.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and I can cut that out if you want.
Okay, great.
But you did great.
Thank you.
Well, are you performing tonight?
Yeah.
Oh, when and where?
I'll be at the Voodoo at 9:15. Last night I was at the Liberty, which was being broadcast on KMUN. And of course, you know, I have sometimes a little bit colorful language. And then I realized halfway through that it was being broadcast. So I apologized by using profanity. So I'm not sure how I ended up or whether I'll ever be asked back. But it was fun. We always have fun down here. Well, thank you.
All right.
You
Pleasure
bet.
to meet you. Thanks.
Bye. Enjoy the sun while it's here.